After working through the conceptual design phase, where you consider options for the overall building mass and form, you'll probably want to move ahead to a design development phase where you think about the specific locations of walls, doors, windows, and building elements. And as you move into that phase, you'll want to take advantage of all the hard work you've put into creating that conceptual mass. Now you can use the faces of your conceptual mass to quickly place your building elements. You can go through and place floors, roofs, walls, and curtain systems. But in this section, we're specifically going to be looking at how we place floor and roof elements using your conceptual mass. Now you can convert mass floors in your conceptual mass into architectural or structural floor elements. You can also convert any non-vertical faces of the conceptual mass into roof elements. So let's take a look at how you'll actually do that. Let's start by making sure that the conceptual mass is visible. To do that, let's open a 3D view that should display your conceptual mass. And if that conceptual mass is hidden, turn on the Show Mass Form and Floors mode. You'll find that under the Massing and Site tab in the Conceptual Mass section, just pull down and choose Show Mass Form and Floors from the menu. Okay, you'll also want to be sure that the mass has been divided into mass floors because we'll need those mass floors to convert and change them into floor elements. Now we're ready to convert those mass floors into floor elements, and we'll start with the upper level floors because they typically have the same floor types. Let's open the Floor by Face tool. You'll find that under the Massing and Site tab in the Model by Face section, choose the Floor by Face tool. And then you can select all the upper level mass floors. Now you may need to Control-click to select several of those upper level mass floors, but after you've selected them, you can choose the desired floor type for the upper floors from the Type selector. And as you choose that type, be sure to choose a floor type that matches the likely construction materials and the method that it'll be using. Remember that you can also create a new floor type if needed. But once you have those floors selected and you've chosen the type, you can say, click the Create Floor button, and those floors will be created at the mass floor locations. Next, let's look at how we can convert that ground level mass floor into a floor element too. And again, we're doing this as a separate operation because the ground level floor will typically have a different type from the upper level floors. Again, we'll open the Floor by Face tool. You'll find that under the Massing and Site tab in the Model by Face section. Choose the Floor by Face tool there, and you can select the ground level mass floor. Next, you can choose the desired floor type for that ground level floor from the Type selector, and you should be sure to choose a floor type that would be appropriate for a floor at the ground level. So you'll see in this example, I'm choosing the concrete 12-inch floor, which would be appropriate for a slab on grade, as opposed to, the lightweight concrete on a metal deck, which would be appropriate for an upper level floor. So choose a good ground floor type, and then you can click the Create Floor button, and that floor will be created on the ground level for you. Now the floors that you create by placing floors by face have all the same properties as floors that you draw and sketch a boundary for, so you can edit them in very similar ways. Try selecting one of the created floor elements and then open the Edit Boundary tool. You'll find that under the Modify Floors tab in the Mode section. Just choose Edit Boundary there, and then you can edit the floor boundary using the tools in the drawing palette using any of the techniques we looked at prior for editing floor boundaries. Now, if you change the floor boundary, remember that the floor sketch must have a continuous boundary. You want a continuous pink loop all the way around the floor. And if you create any interior loops, that will create openings in the floor. When you're done editing that floor boundary, just click the Finish checkmark, and the new floor will be modified to have that new boundary shape that you've just specified. Now, you may need to hide the mass floor category to be able to see those floor boundary changes. At first, the mass floor will still have the overall shape, and it may obscure the changes that you've made to that floor boundary. So just go ahead and hide that mass floor category, and you'll be able to see those changes you made to the floor boundary. You can also convert any non-vertical faces on the mass to roofs using a very similar method. To do that, open the Roof by Face tool. You'll find that under the Massing and Site tab in the Model by Face section. Just choose the Roof by Face tool there. And you can select all of the non-vertical faces of the mass that you'd like to convert into roof elements. Again, these have to be non-vertical faces. They can be horizontal faces or even sloping faces. They just can't be the vertical faces. Those can only be converted into walls. After you've chosen all of those non-vertical faces that you'd like to convert to roof elements, just choose the desired type from the type selector. And be sure to choose a roof type that matches the likely construction and materials and method that you'll be using to build the building. In this case, we're going to choose the steel truss with insulation on a metal deck in an EPDM membrane. You could also create a new roof type if needed. So after you've selected those non-vertical faces and you've chosen the type, just click the Create Roof button and a roof will appear at all those faces of the conceptual mass.